So I'm so excited today to have David Moray with us. I've been really looking forward to finding someone who's got an extensive career background in sales. Well, mainly because I also started working in sales postgraduate myself as well. And to be honest, I didn't know anything about it. And I feel like it's one of those career paths you kind of fall into, and no one really teaches you at university what it's like to work in sales. So who better to learn from someone who's got years of experience in different industries, different roles, working from salesperson to directing and managing teams. So I won't give any spoilers, but I would love to hear from you. I guess I always like to take people straight from the background. I did do some digging into your education, David, and I noticed you studied law at university. So tell me, how did that translate into sales?
Yeah, thanks so much, and a real pleasure to be here as well. Well, I suppose the best place to start is at the very beginning and then work my way to where I am today, because this career just came out of nowhere, really. Like you said at the very beginning there, you don't get taught this, it just happens sometimes. And when I was growing up, I grew up in Cornwall in the UK, so shout out to any Cornish followers on your channel there. Ultimately, I wanted to be an actor. Wow. And I was absolutely, in my mind, there was no other choice. I was going to be an actor, and I was going to be James Bond, and I was going to be Harry Potter, and it was all going to happen. Funny story, I did in fact audition to be Harry Potter, but Daniel Radcliffe beat me to it. Fair play. That's it. So I wanted to be an actor, and when I was 15, I was in a youth theatre group, and our director turned around to us and said, guys, I've got nothing left to teach you. It's time for you to go out and start your own business. And we all sort of looked at each other, the five of us, and went, wow, we're not even adults yet. How can we start a business? And he said, well, all you need is a name, a venue to rehearse, and a script. And so he gave us a script, and he gave us the suggestion for the venue, which turned out to be Truro's Burrell Theatre. And we put on The Accidental Death of an Anarchist by Dario Fo to a complete sellout. And we were all kind of amazed by it, and we continued that business. But that was my first little moment of sort of going into a business career, I suppose. And on the back of that, my director was wonderfully blunt with me. And when I told him about my prospects for college, he sort of turned around to me and said, David, there are only two types of people that become very successful at acting: those that are devilishly handsome and those that are well connected. Sadly, you're neither.
Oh, yeah.
So he then said, but you can use your skills in acting to do many different things. And he suggested law. And it was on that conversation alone that I decided to pursue law. So I took it at A-level, took it to university, where I went to the University of Plymouth, got my law degree. And after 3 great years at university, I then wanted to be a barrister. So I took the leap from undergraduate to bar training in London at the BPP school in Holborn, and I failed. I failed the bar, and that year was the toughest year of my life. I went broke. I ran out of money. I was working 20 hours a week in a charity call center just to pay my rent, and I still went broke about 4 months in. So I had to get a loan from the bank. No one was helping me. It was, you know, this was something I decided to do. My parents quite rightly said to me, look, you decided to go down this journey. You're an adult now. You sort out, you look after yourself, you know. So I had to go and get a bank loan. It was the only option I had. And I got through the year, and sadly, out of the 21 exams, I only passed 19. So it's another £15,000 then to retake that whole course, which I simply didn't have. So on the back of that, I was still working in the charity call center, and we were calling Canada in those days. So I'd be up very late at night till 2 a.m. In Old Street, London, reading the London Evening Standard as you were, just sort of scrolling through it whilst chatting with donors. And there was a job there that said, do you want to earn £75,000 with no experience necessary?
Wow.
I went to that and thought, sounds great. And so I sent my CV, and I didn't hear back for about 2 months. And this is a detail of the story that will come back later. But the chap next to me in the call center said, Dave, that's a complete waste of your time. I'll come back to that later on in the story, because that's an important part of the story.
Yeah.
2 months later, I got the job, and it was for a commercial real estate developer that was based in Singapore, but they had an office in East London. And I was there for about 4 months before they decided they're going to close the London office. It's not making money. I was the only one that was really doing any sales at all, even though I was the least experienced. And they said, do you want to come to Singapore?
Amazing.
I know. And I spoke to my parents about this, and they both said, this is an opportunity you might never get again in your life. It's too good to say no. And they said, we'll pay for your flights, we'll pay for your accommodation for 3 months, we'll pay for your flight home if you fail.
Wow.
You got nothing to lose at the end of the day.
Yeah. So
I went out there and I stayed for 2 years at that company, had a wonderful time in Singapore. If anybody's listening that would like some recommendations in Singapore, I know the best restaurant. It's a place called Rubato. My friend is the owner, and it's the best food you'll ever have in your life. I've got 50 other recommendations that I can give to anybody that's listening.
Wow. So when was this that you were in Singapore? From what year to what year?
It was 2013 to 2015
Wow.
at this time. But Singapore's changed a lot in the last 7-8 years, I imagine. I haven't been back for a few years, but yeah, I've got some wonderful stories and experiences from that. And after 2 years there, I decided, right, I've done my bit here. It's time to try something new. I was about 25 at the time, and I went over the bridge to Malaysia and to Kuala Lumpur. Yeah. And when I originally got there, I was working for a mobile game investment company, and I did that for a few months, and then realized it wasn't what I wanted to do. So I decided to move on and start my own business, in fact. So similar in Malaysia. Yeah. So I found this amazing product, this healthy rice cooker that was from a client of mine at the time, and helped them distribute it across Asia, across America, across the world. And my business partner and I had some incredible success. We got it certified and safe into Thailand. We were in the process of doing that for Vietnam. We were in the process of doing that for Canada and Europe. We got really, really far down the road. And unfortunately, the only thing that stopped us going any further is that a similar product came to market from the Chinese market, and they were selling it about 1/5 of the price of what we were selling it. And there's not much we could do at that point. Sadly, we didn't own the product. We didn't own any of the manufacturing or any of the rights. So at that point, we had to defer to the owners, and they didn't want to change their approach. So we had to sadly say goodbye to that business, even though we'd made some really big leaps over 2 years. And at that point, I took a break, moved to Thailand for 6 months, had a wonderful 6-month break on the beach. And well, can't argue with that, really, can you? And then I went back to Kuala Lumpur, where I got a job in pharmaceutical sales. So that was a really big shift from anything that I'd done before. And one of the morals of my story to anybody that's listening is apply for jobs. It's a bit like Richard Branson, I suppose. apply for jobs that you don't know how to do it, because you will learn, and you will learn along the way. I don't know anything about pharmaceuticals. I sort of jumped into that job purely on the basis that I know how to sell and I know how to brand products, and the rest I can learn. You know, I can learn what EN norms are. I can learn what different microbial resistance is. I can learn all that stuff. It's fine. But
Yeah, you make it sound easy.
well, it's not, to be fair, it's not easy. It's a lot of learning, a lot of regurgitation. But if you put in the time, if you put in the effort, anything's possible, right?
Yeah. And
So,
how
yeah.
did you find these jobs in Singapore and Kuala Lumpur? Because I know it's not easy, right? Because
No,
yeah,
it's tough. It's really tough. And for anybody looking for a job in any market around the world, as a foreigner, and as and particularly a foreigner with no visa as
yeah,
well, it's hard. It's really, really hard, because a lot of employers will not sponsor visas. And that's where, in my approach for looking for jobs, I sandblasted LinkedIn, sandblasted it. I treated job hunting like a full-time job. I
wow,
was spending 8, 9, 10 hours a day just applying. And the key to my success, and for anybody that's listening, is to apply for the job, find out who posted the job. If it's someone from the company, message them. Send them a personal message on LinkedIn saying, hey, listen, I found your job. I applied for it. I hope you receive it. I hope I hear from you soon. The reason why I applied for your job is because I'm excited about X, Y, Z, and what I can bring to the job is A, B, C. Really looking forward to hearing back from you. Boom.
wow,
If you do that, not only do you look keen as punch for that job, you know, for anybody that's looking at that message, they'll think, my God, what an incredible person, what an incredible attitude
yeah,
to go out of their way and message me directly. Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. And so many people just apply, and think that's enough. It's not enough. It's
yeah.
not enough.
Gotta
And
be
in this day and age where you're competing against 100, 1,000, 10,000 other candidates, how do you stand out? There was a wonderful story I read about a law student who wanted to get work experience at a law firm, and they sent this hamper of donuts. And inside the hamper of donuts, they lifted it up, and there was his CV
wow.
inside the donuts, and said, I hope you like these donuts as much as you like me. Please give me work experience.
Wow.
Do
Okay.
you think we got work experience? Yeah, of course he did.
The whole office all at once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If someone sent me donuts and asked for work experience, the answer is yes. You know, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
But likewise, you've got to be inventive. And the jobs I got in Malaysia, they all gave me visas. And
Were they specifically advertising that they sponsor,
no,
or did you just apply and
just apply.
convince?
Just
Okay.
apply and convince.
Wow.
Because the jobs I got, the pharmaceutical, I went in and met with the CEO, and the CEO was a Swiss German, and he's a really nice guy. And I sat down with him, and he just said straight away, David, I want you. And I said, great, fantastic. Are you going to help me with a visa as well? He said, no problem. And true to their word, they got me the visa. Amazing. Great experience for me. Not the right industry for me, to be fair. And that was something that I learned. It took me about 8 months to realize that, but it was just not the right industry. I enjoyed it. It was interesting, but I didn't get up in the morning with that warm, fuzzy feeling inside. And that's important. That's important for any person interested in sales. If you go into this job thinking you can sell anything, you can't.
Yeah.
It's incorrect advice. What is more accurate is to say that you can sell anything that you're passionate about.
Yeah. We're not robots at the end of the day. You can't. Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely right.
So,
And
so
yes,
going back to, I would love to hear what happened. So you were in Thailand enjoying your life
mm,
at the beach, and then
mm,
you got this job in Malaysia.
yeah, that's
You
right.
moved over to, was it in KL in Malaysia that you moved to?
It was, and I moved back over there and just went back to work. Really, I did try to find work whilst I was in Thailand, but it drew a blank. Sadly, I had a couple of sort of in between jobs, but nothing that was substantial. So, as a young man, you don't want to have too much of a gap on your CV.
Yeah.
6 months here, fine. You're just off having a good time. But if you've got more than a year, it starts to become a question in interviews. Why were you off for a year? And it's a really difficult question to answer truthfully. Because if you tell them you just wanted a year off, well, what's to say that you're not going to feel that way next week, right? It's a really difficult question in an interview. If you've got a bolt and braces answer, fine, but it's a really difficult question. But I needed to get back to work. I missed it. I missed the sort of excitement of waking up in the morning. It's important. It's really important, and for me anyway. I think if you want to make the most of your life, you have to have that passion, and that's something that, relating back to the beginning of my story, that guy that sat next to me in the charity call center, his attitude was, nah, there's no point. You won't get it. It's a waste of time.
Oh, okay. Wow.
And I don't know where that guy is now, but he's certainly not had the experiences that I've had.
Yeah, I mean, you've three countries so far.
Yeah.
Essentially live there.
Yeah.
And
I think it's important to have that attitude.
There's
There's a lot of people now that say, that have this kind of almost the world owes me a favor attitude. And I find that really, really frustrating, because the world owes nobody nothing. This world is yours to take advantage of. If you want to go out there and make the most of your life, the only thing stopping you is numero uno. You've got to make that decision for yourself, to wake up and say, today I'm going to make a difference. Today I'm going to change something. Today I'm going to make the most of my life and change it right now. Right. One of the things I noticed when I came back to England after being away for 7 years is I saw the same homeless person in the same space that they sat 7 years ago. So where's the progress there? They haven't done anything about their life. And I worked in a homeless shelter for a while. And one thing I learned there is there's a difference between those that are there unfortunately and they want to get out of it, and those that are so comfortable with that lifestyle.
Yeah.
And I think that's true in life of everyone. You're either comfortable or you want to do something about it.
Yeah.
And it's scary. Deciding to leave a job is scary.
Yeah.
It's really scary. How are you going to pay your bills? How are you going to look after your family? It's scary.
Yeah.
But one thing I've learned is that you can do it. Like, everybody's got friends, everybody's got contacts, everybody's got the ability to help. And it's something that I find really interesting, because I've got about 7,000 followers on LinkedIn. Half of them I've probably never even spoken to. Frankly. But if someone came to me and said, I really need help, I need to find this person, that industry, I need a job here, there, and everywhere, I'll be the first person to say, well, why don't I put a post out and help you? Cost me nothing to do that. But if I can help that person get what they want, then that's amazing. That's the power of human connectivity. That's what social media was originally built for.
Exactly.
Instead of sharing pictures of grapefruits, it
Yeah.
should be there to help people. It should be there to build bridges. Only today, a friend of mine's daughter was looking for work experience at a law firm.
Mm-hmm.
In the space of 3 hours, I got her
Wow.
2 work experiences at law firms, and it took me 3 hours to get that. That was it. Didn't take any effort whatsoever.
Yeah.
But that's the power of connectivity.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I've succeeded in every job that I've ever had in sales. I leave every single job as the top salesperson every single time, and I leave on a high note, because if you don't leave on a high note, then you're remembered for all the wrong things. You have to leave when you're at your very best, and if you are leaving for all the right reasons at the end of the day.
So how did you become such a good salesperson? Because, well, maybe first you can break down what it takes to be a good salesperson, and then how do you become one? Because I think a lot of people have this notion of Leonardo DiCaprio, you're a born salesperson or like a born leader, and you need to have these DNA of a charming, charismatic person to be a salesperson, or you're not it. So is it something you
absolute rubbish? Absolute rubbish. It's not something you're born with. It's not something that people just have. It's something that can be trained. I learned, a lot of my skills I got from my law degree, funny enough, because sales is more of a pattern. It's more of a pattern of realizing that people ask 3 questions. What is it? What does it do for me? And how much is it? And it really boils down to that. If we're being really basic, I'm going to kill every sales guru online right now, because I've just turned millions of hours into 3 bullet points, but it's true. And then beyond that, it's learning how to communicate with people in a way that resonates with them to make that buying decision. Because you can sell people your product if you believe in it. And I've done it time and time and time and time again. It doesn't come down to cost, ever. It's not the cost. If someone says it's the cost, it's because they're being too polite. They don't want to tell you the truth, that actually you didn't come across as well as the competitor who's also pitching them, or they didn't like you. And that's usually it. So the skills that you need as a salesperson, let's say someone is listening to this, they're 21 years old, they've never done sales, maybe they've never had a job, no problem at all. All you need is a can-do attitude and a good teacher. How do you find a good teacher? All we have to do is look at LinkedIn. If they've got a good following, if they've got good references from credible people, then this is probably someone you want to listen. This is probably someone you want to listen to, learn to, and these kind of things. Now, if you're applying for a job and that person is at that job, you want to be a leech on them. You want to stick on their side and ask as many questions as you can. I'll tell you a story. When I was working at a company I was with previous to Silver Linings, Grantify, there was a guy that was working there who was very green to sales. He had a bit of experience, but very, very green. He leeched on me to ask a million questions. It was like a machine gun of questions.
Yeah.
And it was, I'll be honest, it was a bit annoying, because I'm just constant. Now, as a sales leader, you have to get over that frustration of, oh my God, this person is just bombarding me.
Was he already working at the company, or did he want to?
He was working there, yeah, brand new. And you've got to remember that you're a teacher, and you are a mentor to that person. So after about, I'd say it took about 3 months, 3 months of question. And then suddenly the first sales start coming in, and then the questions start to reduce, and then more sales come in and the questions start to reduce, and it goes up and up and up. However, there is a tipping point with sales, and this is good advice for anybody starting a sales job. After your probation, your first month will be massive. You will have an incredible month 1. You might have an incredible month 2, but either month 2 or month 3, you will drop off a cliff, and you won't know why. You're doing the same script, you're doing the same pitch, you're doing the same things that you were taught. But the fact is, you're not. And that's when you need to go back to your trainer, your sales leader, your sales director, whomever, and say, show me what I'm doing wrong. And in my experience, it's because they've become too clever. So they've started adding things to their pitch that are completely unnecessary and completely irrelevant for the customer that they're speaking to. You know,
Yeah.
I like using the example of a car dealership. If you walk into a car dealership and all you're interested in is how many miles does it do and how much petrol does it guzzle, and then you've got a car salesperson that says, oh, these rims are the best rims in the world, they're manufactured in Germany, and you've got windscreen wipers made of alloy steel, it's the wrong information for the right person, and you've lost the sale. So I remember this because it happened to me. And it happened to me when I was in Singapore. I went for a 3-month drought, couldn't sell, and I didn't know what was going on. And I sat down with my sales leader and said to her, what am I doing wrong? And she said, pitch me like a client. So I did. And she stopped me about halfway through and she goes, do you know what you're doing wrong? I said, no. She goes, you're not shutting up.
Right. Too much information, talking at the client.
Way too much.
Okay.
And as a result, they turned off ages ago. And it was the best advice I ever got. The very next day, I went back to basics, back to my original script. I cut out all the fat that I added. Straight away got a sale.
Wow.
And it's as simple as that. Sometimes the best advice you can give to a salesperson is what we call in the industry KISS.
Yeah.
Keep it simple, stupid. And it sounds derogatory, but it's true. Keep it simple. The best salespeople I've ever seen are the ones that keep it simple.
Yeah, definitely.
How do I know? Because I buy all their products.
Oh dear, you'd be a good fun person to sell to.
I love it. I think, you know how everybody gets those calls that they don't like from salespeople? I don't get any anymore because I think I'm blacklisted, because I listen to all of them because I want to hear their sales pitch. I listen to every single one, and then I'll get to the end, and if they're good, I'll offer them a job.
Well,
and if they're not so good, I'll give them some pointers. But I don't get those calls anymore. So for anybody listening that wants to stop getting all those calls, just take it to the end.
Oh dear. So it's interesting because you said you've tried quite a few different industries as well, right? Like when you were in Singapore and then you moved to Malaysia, you worked in pharmaceutical sales. So after 8 months of that, did you return to UK or did you went to another role? And
no, I had 2 more roles in Kuala Lumpur. The first one was for destination weddings. Most fun I've ever had in my life. It was great. I was flying pretty much every week to Bali, to Phuket, to Vietnam, to Indonesia. I loved Vietnam. Oh, God, I miss Vietnam so much. If anybody's listening that wants a holiday, go to Vietnam. And in my opinion, I would go to the less known Vietnam. There's a tiny island called Phuket, and this won't get blocked on YouTube because that's correct pronunciation. But it's a wonderful little island that is blossoming.
Yeah.
It's pretty much all 4-star, 5-star hotel on the island. It's a beautiful island, and I had the time of my life there.
I'm getting a memory down. I'm getting it like going down memory lane. I actually did my final year of uni in Malaysia. Yeah, I lived there for 1 year, and it was just the most amazing experience ever. Like, you just need one trip and you don't want to come back. So I can understand how you stay there for 7 years.
Oh, tell me about it. I love the Mamax. I loved the fact that there is food on tap 24/7. It is the business, and it's just a wonderful place. Oh, wonderful place.
You were organizing weddings all of a sudden from selling drugs.
Yeah.
It's
not a bad segue. Yeah, from drugs to dreams. It was quite literally that's what happened. Yeah, I wanted out of pharmaceuticals. I didn't enjoy it, and that's when I was looking for something new, and I found the Destination Weddings, and the chap that owned the company was a chap from Hong Kong. Awesome guy, awesome boss, genuinely one of the best bosses I've ever had in my life, and he was fab, and he just gave me free rein to go off and develop the sales structure for the business, and we just grew and grew and grew and grew, and the product didn't cost a lot. It was only about 5,000 US, I think it was, and we went from 2 or 3 sales a month to 20 sales a month to 40 sales a month, and it just grew and grew and grew, and to the point that they were getting some serious interest for some big investors in the business, and it just got really exciting, and it got really exciting really quickly, and that business is still going today, still going strong, and I'm so proud that I was part of that journey. It was amazing, and I would have stayed longer, but my visa requirements didn't allow me to, and that was the only reason I left that company. If the visa would have allowed me to stay on, I would have 100%. And then from there, I found another job at a 5-star resort, Samadhi Retreats, where I was head of the events for the restaurant part of it. So they had this glorious, 3 restaurants in truth, 3 restaurants. One was an amazing outdoor in the tropics. One was an indoor, slightly sort of Japanesey vibe, and then the other was their most popular one that was a Thai food restaurant. And I was there for all of about 4 or 5 months, and it was during that time that I sort of had a shift in my motivations. I'd just turned 30. I've been away from home for quite a long time, and I just thought it was about time to come back. I didn't have a job lined up. I didn't have anything lined up. I just thought, now's the time. And with that job, they had a 3-month notification period. So I had to, it gave me 3 months to really sort things out, which in a way was very helpful. If I was looking for a quick job, that's not so helpful, but given the circumstances, it worked out quite well. And then I returned to England February 2020, which was exactly 4 weeks before the country locked down for COVID. And
good timing or bad timing?
A little bit of both. A little bit of both. Yeah, because I did join a company briefly for all of 4 weeks before they let me go because of COVID. They last in, first out kind of thing. So it was really sad, but that led me on to Grantify, which was the company I was at before Silver Linings, and that company was probably it was my biggest success. We went from me as the only salesperson to, I think the team now is something like 15, something like that, across the US, Europe, UK, and they're now doing about £10 million pounds annual recurring revenue, and that was all from really the MDs. They were two brothers who gave me a chance. You know, that they
I'm guessing.
yeah, because one thing that people don't realize is that unless you're in a corporate structure abroad, coming back home with a CV full of 7 years of jobs here and there in completely foreign countries, nobody looks at you.
Oh, really? Oh,
Nobody
wow.
looks at you. It was so tough.
That's such a
It's the sort of filtering process that companies have on CVs has got out of hand.
Yeah.
It's got to a point now where people are judging CVs more importantly than they are people. Now, my perspective on that is that when I receive a CV for someone, even if it looks terrible, I will look them up online and see if they're someone I want to interview, because I don't care if they've used a bad format, a bad template, CVs all over the place.
A small grammar error. Oh dear.
Couldn't give a monkeys. Couldn't give a monkeys. The best people I've ever hired were the ones with bad CVs.
Yeah.
They were the best. And it was because, and similarly, other companies were not giving them a chance when they should. They should. Some of the people that I hired are now the top selling people in their industries. And I don't take entire credit for that. I'm just part of the picture. I'm a piece of the puzzle.
Yeah.
But their success started with a ton of rejection. And it just takes a courteous and dare I say, more experienced sales manager to look at a good person within a CV and give them a chance.
Yeah, that's what you were saying at the beginning as well. It's kind of, you need to get yourself away from being behind the CV to in front of that person as soon as possible. 100%. If you apply for a job, get in touch with whoever is posted their job on LinkedIn and introduce 100%. Yourself, because I mean, a piece of paper will never do you justice. So you need to get yourself in front of that person as soon as possible.
You do. And you know, it was interesting from when I was, because when I came back after lockdown, I did the same approach. LinkedIn, 10 hours a day, apply, contact. And that's how I got the job at Grantify. Because I contacted the MD. He loved it that I contacted him. And then here we are today. I did 2 years there and they are flying right now. So it's one of those things that great opportunities, you make them.
So you went straight for the top dog and you took something.
Yeah, but he also posted the job. Okay. So at the same time, I wouldn't advocate just going straight for the top dog immediately, because sometimes that's inappropriate. But if you look at whoever posted the job, now what was different is that Grantify is a startup. Yeah. And I knew that there were only a few employees. So in that situation, it's perfectly reasonable. But if let's say the person's an HR director that's posted it, and then you contact the MD saying, looking forward to hearing what happens next, he's going to tell the HR director, put that person in the bin. Yeah. You know, it's inappropriate. So advice for your listeners: be smart. Be smart about it. Think about it from their perspective. Think about what you're writing. Think about what you're sending them, because if it's not appropriate, then it will be probably an instant no these days. And to that end, I would just add on that about interview technique, because when and this is probably priceless information for people listening, I look for 3 things on an interview. Number one, they're on time. There couldn't be something more simple to me than being on time. But if you're on time, preferably early, then it shows me that you've got respect for me and you've got respect for my time. Because when you book an interview, it's not all about you. It's also about the person you're with. You have to respect it's their time that they're giving up for you, right? So being on time, number one. Number two, do your homework. If I always ask someone on an interview, what do you like the most about my company? Now, if their answer is something that they read on page 1 of our website, I know that they're sat there on their laptop looking at page 1 of our website.
Reading your mission statement.
Rubbish. Absolute rubbish. You know, it doesn't take 5-10 minutes to do some proper research on a company. It really doesn't. So do your homework and write down a few key facts that you like about the company, and be genuine about it as well. Don't just you know, say something for the sake of saying it. If you really like that a company has a particular feature, then share that with the interviewer. Say, hey, listen, I read that you guys have this. Is that true? Yes, it is. Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. That really resonates with me because, right? Now that formula immediately builds rapport. Immediately builds rapport. You've just connected with that interviewer in a way that nobody else has. It really, really sets you apart from the crowd. So number two, do your homework. And number three, be excited, for God's sake. The amount of people I've interviewed where they turn up and they go, oh, yeah, well, I did 5 years working for this company and 5 years for that company. Good Lord, it's sending me to sleep. Show some passion, for goodness sake, because it's infectious, right?
Yeah, a lot of people let the nerves get the better of them, but you need to perform.
You just gotta be confident. I know there are a lot of coaches now that do confidence coaching. If you have an issue with confidence, definitely seek them out, because confidence is key. See, I learned it from a very young age thanks to some very pedestrian school shows in theatre. One in particular was called Under African Skies, for copyright reasons, because they didn't want to call it The Lion King.
Basically describing The Lion King one sentence.
And then to avoid, I don't know why they were worried about copyright, a pokey little secondary school in Cornwall. And then
you might go viral one day.
I doubt it. And it, again, to avoid copyright, they sort of merged other children's books. So they merged it with The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. And that this wardrobe just appears on stage at one point when everybody's all animals. And then the doors open to this wardrobe and I pop out as Edward and just go, is this Narnia? You know, it was the most obscure show that I've ever been a part of, possibly.
Wow,
you've got to have confidence. That's the key thing.
Yeah, you've had such an incredible journey, like from wanting to become an actress to studying law and then traveling the best part of Southeast Asia and living there. What advice would you say you have for someone who's just graduated or maybe early in their career and they want to like pursue an exciting career path? Like you mentioned, if you wake up early in the morning, you're not looking forward to your day, you should change it. But at the same time, I mean, maybe you can say it's a bit of an excuse as well. A lot of people are saying with this economic downturn at the moment, it's difficult to get jobs in the UK, let alone abroad. So how can people maybe spend this time, build their skills or prepare themselves so they can seek those opportunities either now or when we recover? What would be the best thing a young person can do now if they're facing hardship, but at the same time they don't want to sit at home and do nothing about it?
I think the first part of my answer is to say turn off the news. Just turn it off. This is going to sound really political. I don't care. The news is all negative. Staying up to date with current affairs, fine. But things like talking about the economic downturn, the lack of jobs, the thing is, it's just not true. Because if I go to LinkedIn right now and find out how many open jobs are there are hundreds of thousands of jobs. Hundreds of thousands. All you have to do is knock on the door. And for anybody that is sat at home right now thinking, oh, woe is me, you need to take your head out the sand and realize, no, it's not all on you. You can make a physical change to your life right now. There are good companies hiring. Grantify. Anybody that's young at sales, go and speak to Grantify. They're a great company. I worked for them for many happy years. Go and send them your CV, right? They're very easy to find on LinkedIn. Go and send them a CV. Connect with me. If you want to ask some questions, I'm not always available. I'm a busy man. But at the same time, if you want to connect with me, please feel free. And I will happily give you advice. Free, by the way. I'm not going to charge. I'm not one of these guys that charges for advice. If you want some solid advice from someone that's been there, done that, quite literally got the t-shirts from Thailand, Malaysia, Singapore, I've been there. So if you want that advice, I will give it to you for free. And thirdly, be routine about it. If you wake up at 10 o'clock in the morning and you think that's okay, guess what, pal? It's not. You need to wake up at 7, 8 o'clock in the morning latest and treat every single day as a working day. Yeah. If you don't do that, then you are quite literally caving yourself in. You are putting yourself in a box and you're saying, oh, I'm trying my hardest. Are you? Are you putting in 10 hours a day looking for a new job? Are you really applying on Indeed, on Monster, on LinkedIn, on Glassdoor, on any of these other places that they've got thousands of jobs? Thousands. Yeah. I think the final piece of advice is know your worth. If you know you're worth 50K a year, don't go applying for a 30K job. Yeah. You're worth 50K. Know your worth. There is nothing more frustrating to me than seeing a very valuable person, and I know many of them, and I've told them all this, that you should be applying for something better. You are not being paid what you're worth. And you should know that if anybody comes to you and says, well, our best offer is 30, but you're worth 50, you should say no. Yeah. You have the confidence to walk away. You should absolutely have the confidence to walk away. Yeah. Because guess what? Another job will open up. When I left Grantify, I had 5 offers for jobs. And I turned down 2 of them because the salary wasn't high enough. And I told them that's not good enough for me. And the other 3, I had to really think about. I had to really weigh up my options. And I took about 2 weeks to make a decision. And I told all 3 of them, I'm going to take 2 weeks to make this decision. I'm not going to make it overnight. Yeah. You're going to wait for me. And that's the attitude everybody listening to this podcast should have. You are worth exactly what you think you're worth. But don't let that make you compromise. Yeah. Amazing. And those are really, really good words. In fact, some of which I'm actually going to implement in my own my life. No, it's been really, really valuable to hear your story and really inspiring to see how you really experienced a lot and how you always stuck to your values and principles whilst experiencing new things and growing, which is something we all need to do. 100%. I'll give your listeners a piece of advice that my mum gave me when I was maybe 5, 6. She didn't give me pocket money. I didn't get it. Right. I came from a nice enough family. We weren't well off, but she didn't believe in pocket money. What she believed in was work-related pay. She said to me, David, if you want money to go off and buy sweets, buy comics, whatever, then I need my house hoovering, but I'm only going to pay you based on how well a job you do. That advice sticks with me every single day when I wake up and go to bed. I am worth the amount of effort I put in. And if I don't work hard one day, I will have to make up for it, because I don't believe that anybody should be in a job unless they put effort in, because otherwise you're paying them for no good reason. You are worth what you're worth. And if you keep putting that effort in every single day, not only will people look, people will listen, people will respect you, and you will rise up that company quicker than grease lightning. It is the easiest way to the top, is to have that absolute attitude where every day you will work your best. But there's a slight caveat to that advice. Avoid burnout. Burnout, I experienced it. It's the worst thing in your life.
Yeah.
Burnout is, let me describe burnout for your viewers, because it's really hard to understand it. If you wake up in the morning and you do 8 o'clock in the morning till 8 o'clock at night, you don't take lunch, you don't take 5 minutes here and there, you will burn out. 100% you will burn out. And when you burn out, you start to be a bit snappy, you get a bit colder, you treat people badly without realizing it, you sour relationships without realizing it. You might end relationships with your partner, you might end relationships with your boss, you might end relationships with people that love you. That's what burnout does to you. Burnout is worse than anything else, because not only will you potentially lose your job, you lose everything.
Yeah.
So how do you avoid burnout? You need to be really rigid with giving yourself time. The way I do it is that in my calendar for work, I have time built in for me. Lunch is always there, and I will not compromise that for anybody. That's my time. If my boss calls me, I'll call you back.
Yeah.
If a client calls me, I'll call you back. It's my time. That's for me. I do a 5-minute meditation in the morning. That's for me.
Wow.
You know, everything else is on mute. I'm not being bothered in that time. I do a little stretch at the end of the day. I do maybe a bit of yoga here and there. I do that because it's so important. It's so important. And for anybody listening, you need to build time for you and time for work into a calendar. And if you're applying for jobs right now, it's the same rules apply. If you're going to get up at 8 o'clock in the morning and power through job applications, stop at 5. Don't continue. Stop.
Exactly.
It's time for you to stop. And that's okay. That's really, really okay. And I can't drive this message in hard enough. It's okay. The funny thing is, in sales, the people that do the best are the ones that practice that.
They have a good schedule built in.
Their clients know. My clients know that I won't answer the phone after 5. They know it. So they don't bother me. They know that's my time, and they respect that.
Yeah.
And you've got to have that respect for yourself first, and then everybody else will respect you. And I've given a lot of things to think about during this, hopefully, but that is number one, because I burned out and it sucks. Yeah,
and you've survived a very successful career in sales for all that many years. So this is definitely advice to take on board for anyone who's looking to start their journey or continue their journey for a matter.
Absolutely.
I've really enjoyed the conversation, David. If there are any last words or messages, or if there's any way people can connect with you, we would love to hear that, and then we can wrap up and
for sure.
time this evening to
Yeah,
enjoy the rest of your day.
I'd love to. Yeah, I mean, the best way for people to connect with me is on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
So if you go to LinkedIn, it's David Murray and Silver Linings Wellbeing. You'll find me immediately. My big smiling face is there. There's two options on my page. It's either follow me or connect with me. I'm happy for anybody to connect with me. You don't have to just follow me. So connect with me, drop me a message. I'm totally open to any advice that I can give, any help I can give. If you want me to share your CV with my 7,000 followers, I'll do it.
Wow.
So please connect with me on LinkedIn. I am there for you, for anybody that needs help. Connect with me there, and I'm really pleased to do that. And similarly, for anybody that is interested in the wellness side of things, the company I work for currently is Silver Linings Wellbeing. It's a sort of Netflix for physical well-being, so yoga, Pilates, meditation, nutrition, sleep assistance. We're selling that into corporates right now. So if any corporates are listening, then do get in touch, because it's a game changer. It changed my life. It changes so many other people's lives. And if it prevents the black hole of salespeople, which is burnout, then this isn't a nice to have, it's a must have.
Yeah.
And for anybody listening that wants a career in sales, that's how you do it.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I've really enjoyed it. I feel like the hour has really flown by, because listening to your stories, it's been a truly like a theater play. So I hope maybe you can one day make a show of your life journey in a
Do you know what, Roxana? That is exactly what I'm doing right now.
Oh.
I'm working on a screenplay that not so much my life, but it's going to have elements of it. A bit like, you know, The Office, the UK Office with Ricky Gervais. He wrote that about his boss. I'm planning a sort of musical theatre in a very similar way. So London West End, watch this space.
Wow, do share a link. I'll definitely be interested to watch that. It will be amazing. So thank you so much for your time. Really enjoyed the conversation. And yeah, as David said, like, definitely connect with him, reach out to him. He's definitely a very experienced, wise man to get advice from, whether you're applying for jobs or not. Like, you should always be extending your network anyway. But yeah, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Really appreciate it.